Good morning, Vietnam, and here I am back again doing a video on an article written in The Guardian yesterday. As I live in Vietnam, it's I can't remember, about 12 hours ahead we are here. I did do one review of an article 2 months ago in The Guardian about a pathetic article on weight training and exercise and longevity. It was just total crap. I've also done about 4 reviews and criticisms of articles in the New York Times. Pretty hopeless stuff because of the author's pathetic attempts of being a journalist. God forbid, a journalist. So this article is about a new rice called golden rice. And I'm going to go through the article in a second. I'm going to put it on the screen and read through it with you and then read through my notes. I've already been able to review and write why I think it's hopeless. Very, very bad journalism. I don't know how these articles actually get approved by the editors in these probably 2 of the top 5 newspapers, major media outlets in the world, but they keep getting through the system, and this is another example of how hopeless, stupid, and disingenuous these articles are. And I will switch now and show you the article I've cut and pasted in Word, and I will go through it and show you why I think it is so pathetic and disingenuous. Thanks. As I said, this was published yesterday in The Guardian. Normally it's my favorite newspaper. One of the reasons is because I get American news that for some reason is either well hidden in the New York Times or not published at all. And you find it in The Guardian. The same with Australian news, where I read one Australian newspaper in the morning with the Guardian, the New York Times, and a Vietnamese government news outlet, vietnamnews.vn. So here's a photo. You can see the color is yellow, and obviously that's why they called it golden rice. So it's supposed to be highly enriched in vitamin A. And of course it starts immediately trying to sensationalize the recent government in the Philippines rejection by the High Court to allow golden rice to be planted in the Philippines. And the heading is A Catastrophe. Greenpeace blocks planting of life-saving golden rice. And this is where it gets disgusting. Thousands of children could die after court backs campaign group over GM crop in Philippines. Scientists warn. Well, actually, it was the High Court. It wasn't Greenpeace who blocked it. So at least write it more correctly. And of course, this is by a guy called Robin McKee, and he's supposed to be the science editor. Well, I guess he's never read a real research paper written by a true scientist and a true researcher, because the way he writes this, as you can tell from the heading, is hopeless and backs no validity. Anytime anything starts, article especially, starts like this, it immediately raises my hair all over my body, and I find it really disconcerting that they write and use such language and words. Because I yesterday was my final episode on a 5-part video series on why I think AIDS is not caused by HIV, and in fact it is a total hoax, and it's killed I don't know how many million people by using these drugs and not spending money, as this article finally gets with the last paragraph in this article about having to spend money to alleviate this vitamin A deficiency. So he starts off, scientists have warned that a court decision to block the growing of the genetically modified golden rice in the Philippines could have catastrophic consequences. Tens of thousands of children could die in the wake of the ruling, they argue. Well, first of all, which scientists? Why in the hell don't you list these people? I'm happy to write to them and ask them why they believe this and what proof do they have that any of this first paragraph would in fact occur. Do any of these scientists work for any of the companies who manufacture the rice? Do any of these scientists, as I say later, have any patents in regard to the design of this genetically modified golden rice? Do any of these scientists get grants from the companies that is manufacturing this fantastic golden rice? So I write here, as I just said, that I spent a long time researching and writing and doing 5 videos on why I think HIV is a hoax. This is the same propaganda when other diseases are first encountered. And look what happened with COVID-19 with the Trump government. How he kept saying it'll go away. It's just a cold. Drink chlorine and you'll be fine the next day. And in the meantime, the US had the highest percentage rate of people dying of COVID-19 because he refused to make sure that people wore masks, for example. And even though he finally was forced to ask the pharmaceutical companies to develop a vaccine as fast as possible, hundreds of thousands of people died unnecessarily in the US especially. So HIV was and is still disputed as the cause of AIDS. President Mbeki refused to allow AZT, which was the first initial drug approved by the FDA to help cure AIDS back in 1989, and it has been now proven that AZT is poison, and in fact, as I say in my videos, pure poison, and always has been. And Mbeki put together a symposium that included many experts and scientists from both sides of the HIV equation. And he and his government concluded, after all the evidence that was presented, that AIDS was not caused by HIV, even if it does exist. He was severely pillarized by the pro-AIDS activists and the press, exactly like the language and the words used in the beginning of this opening paragraph of this article. Pure sensationalism, as I said. Of course, they did not die, unless you believe poverty and malnutrition, lack of clean water, lack of medicine is not the cause of millions of deaths in Africa, but suddenly a newly found virus called HIV. Why does this author not ask the same types of questions? Why doesn't he present some sort of proof on everything he is writing about and quoting from other so-called experts? 3,000 scientists have signed petitions to denounce the acceptance that AIDS is caused by HIV and have simply asked for a full review of all the data from April 1983 onwards and new research to find the truth. Many renowned scientists, and they put their name on these petitions. You can easily find them. Just look up Wikipedia, AIDS or HIV denialists. And there are many, many scientists in that article that have put their name out there because they do not believe either HIV even exists or it is part of our immunity system, viruses that have been activated naturally trying to save our lives, as Dr. Duisberg has through from the mid-80s all the way to the mid-2000s when he was finally starting to be accepted back into especially the cancer research community. The article goes on. The Philippines has become the first country to approve the commercial cultivation of golden rice, which was developed to combat vitamin A deficiency, a major cause of disability and death among children in many parts of the world. Why this author does not present any research papers and references so that we, the readers, the public, can at least review them, like I reviewed at least 100 articles on HIV, on the research on HIV, if golden rice is safe and has been researched correctly, in fact. He goes on, but campaigns by GREENPEACE and local farmers last month persuaded the country's Court of Appeal to overturn that approval and to revoke this. The groups had argued that golden rice had not been shown to be safe and the claim was backed by the court, a decision that was hailed as a monumental win by GREENPEACE. Why not a monumental win by all the people of the Philippines and the farmers who actually eat normal rice? Why don't they ship in all the food required that has high vitamin A in the foods themselves? And like myself, I want big labels, not these tiny written labels, to tell me if there's any GMO product in the food. And in America especially, there is an abundance of foods that are GMO already, or parts of it at least. He goes on, many scientists, however, say there is no evidence. What scientists? That golden rice is in any way dangerous. More to the point, they argue that it is a lifesaver, just like AZT was. The court's decision is a catastrophe, said Professor Martin Quaim of Bonn University and a member of the Golden Rice Humanitarian Board. Yeah, like the Golden Corn Humanitarian Board in the US, which promotes the introduction of the crop. It goes completely against the science, which has found no evidence of any risk associated with golden rice and will result in thousands and thousands of children dying. Well, that's what they claim. I guess the court made a different decision. The decision is to be challenged by the Philippine government, and agriculture experts say it would likely be overturned in the near future. Maybe. But the setback is still likely to have profound effects. Other countries, India, Bangladesh, where vitamin A deficiency is also widespread, have been considering planting golden rice but are now likely to be deterred. Well, I sure hope so, because I don't believe any GMO product should be eaten by any human being. All the foods we consume today have been developed naturally as we have as human beings to consume these foods naturally over hundreds of thousands of years. So we must be doing the right thing. The situation is extremely alarming, said Adrian Duboc, another board member. Planting golden rice was not done for profit. Well, I want to see the data. I want to see who discovered it. I want to see who patented it, and I want to know who is making it. Nobody was trying to control what farmers grow or control what people eat. Well, yes, you were. It was done only to save lives, like AZT. And with AZT's approval, in fact, they hid the data that showed that it was a liver destroyer. And stupid FDA couldn't help itself. There was so much public pressure by AIDS activists to approve some drug. It goes on. Anyway, it goes on. Countries America, Australia, New Zealand have ruled golden rice as safe. Yet 3 decades after its development, it is still to be grown commercially. So that means it's not grown commercially. The countries may have approved it, but they're not growing it, in fact, at all. Potential benefit. Well, obviously these 3 countries are not growing it commercially. It's still, for some reason, not been accepted. And the other thing is I've personally felt and written occasionally about is that GMO foods are not going to affect you today or tomorrow. It's going to be 1, 2, maybe even 3 generations when we find out altering the genes of these foods, how do they affect our genes and even our major organs. It was found easily that AZT was destroying people's liver. Oh, if you might recall, in India, a decade or 2 decades ago, they were trying to sell GMO rice in India. But the farmers totally rejected it because it wasn't, I don't know the terminology, you needed to buy these seeds from Monsanto every time you wanted to plant them because you couldn't use the seeds that you grew and save the seeds for the next harvest. So that means you always had to buy new seeds to plant. And that's why GMO rice hasn't taken hold of the rice community. Now, Vietnam produces and exports millions of tons of rice. And I've not heard any news here or read anything after living here 10 years about GMO rice. So you can go ahead on and read. I suggest you read the whole article without my notes to see what it sounds and is like, and then you can go back and look at my notes if you require it to do so. So does this guy, what's his name, Potrikas, he's part of the research team, but does he have a patent on the golden rice? Why is he pushing it? Why did the court reject it? Maybe there was enough proof shown that it wasn't actually proven to be safe, or at least not enough data was shown to the court that proves it is safe. So in 2016, more than 150 Nobel laureates signed an open letter that attacked Greenpeace. Well, it's exactly the same with HIV. Greenpeace had misrepresented the risks, benefits and impacts. Well, it wasn't just Greenpeace, there must have been other lawyers involved, and they must have presented all the facts of genetically altered food plants. This is where it gets hilarious, of course. There has never been a single confirmed case of a negative health outcome for humans or animals from their consumption. Because it's genetically modified, it won't affect you for, who knows, 10, 20, 50 years. Then we'll see how genetically modified foods affect human beings. And Greenpeace says there are specific problems with golden rice. So what are they? Why doesn't this author list these problems? The local growers, they're rightly concerned that if their organic or heirloom varieties get mixed up with patented genetically engineered rice, that could sabotage their certifications, reducing their market appeal and ultimately threatening their livelihoods. That's what I say. What about the millions of other farmers in these poor countries? If the seeds spread to adjacent fields and contaminate the existing food chain, then more millions will suffer and die. This was the argument against GMO foods in the USA 20 years ago when they tried to introduce, I believe it was corn or some other GMO product. There was a huge argument about what happens if these seeds get blown into the normally grown food system. And Pellegrina from the Greenpeace states also that relying on a single crop system to alleviate malnutrition, reduce resilience and increase vulnerability to climate impacts, a serious problem in one of the world's most climate vulnerable countries. If things don't work out, it's the farmer and the consumers who pick up the tab. And that's exactly right. Scaremonger tactics. So this is the final paragraph in the article, which he should have put right in the beginning. There are also more practical, tried and tested solutions to tackle vitamin A deficiency, such as food supplementation programs and supporting people to grow a range of crops, including those rich in vitamin A. That should be where attention and investment is focused. So why didn't he write this in the beginning instead of all that fear-mongering in the beginning that thousands of people are going to die? What? Excuse me. Why doesn't the West, in these countries, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Philippines, Indonesia, focus on getting vitamin A to the population in a different form, not a genetically modified food form? Just another example. This is exactly what happened in southern USA, southeast USA. African American children were very sick and had thyroid problems. A doctor, a white doctor, apparently, I recall the article I read about 10 years ago, at least 10 years ago, discovered that they did not have iodine in their diet. And this is the reason why they were having thyroid problems. And this solved the problem immediately. No need for this pathetic attempt to extort more farmers to buy this rice every time they need to plant it. I don't know if that's true, but why doesn't the author talk about that and make all the references I have made? Plus, we still do not know about the GMO foods. As I said, it'll take generations to know if we can absorb it or we totally reject it or it actually changes us genetically. So, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next one. I just want to add at the end that I'm 72 years old. I'll be 73 later this year. I am very fit. I've been eating basically vegetarian for the last 50 years. I try to eat organic food anytime, anywhere. I've lived in five different countries. And I took up boxing 7 months ago, and that's also really helped me with my body in muscle mass and fitness as well. And I'd like to add, which I forgot to add at the beginning of this, do not buy anything you don't need. And especially keep away from new technology like AI. There is, for 99% of us, there is zero gain. So I hope you take some heed and live a long and healthy, prosperous life. Bye.